Welcome to another episode of Terry's Notes, and today we are going to be looking at geometrical transformations. In particular, we are going to be looking at translations. Now, suppose we have a triangle A, B, and C, and we want it to undergo a translation which is T. Right, so we are calling the translation T, and we want one second. Now, a translation is represented by a column vector. So let's say we have a translation T, which is represented by 3 units and 2 units. Now, how do we interpret this translation T? It means that if we have a point here, the 3 means we're going to move 1, 2, 3 units. So 1, 2, 3 units to the right because it's positive, and we're going to move 1, 2 units upwards. Right, and this will be our new point. So if we have a point P and it moves to the point P prime, right, this represents a translation, and it is represented by the column vector 3, 2. Okay, so let's look at this example here. So we had triangle A, B, and C, and we undergo a translation T, which is given by the vector 3, 2. So if we look at the point A, we have to go 3 across. So we go 1, 2, 3 across, and then we're going to move 1, 2 upwards. Right, so therefore this line here represents the translation of the point A. Then we're going to do the same thing with B. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go 1, 2 up. So therefore B will move to this point here. Right, in the case of C, we go 1, 2, 3 across, and then 1, 2 upwards. So therefore, now this represents the object that is undergoing the transformation, and this represents the image. Now, what can we say about the object and the image? Now, the object, the lengths are identical to the image, and the orientation of the object and image are the same. Right, so what we say that the object and the image are congruent. Right, this is a term that they expect that you see when they ask you to compare an object and an image when it undergoes a translation. Right, the object and the image are congruent, meaning that they have the same lengths and the angles in their the triangles are the same. Okay, now if you notice, the line joining A prime, B prime, and C prime, they are all parallel. Right, meaning that each point on the triangle is translated using the same column vector, which is 3, 2 in this case. Right, now typical examination question, they will give you a diagram, and they may give you the object and the image and ask you to describe the transformation as fully as you can. So because we know that we have a triangle here, the object, and we are moving to this new position, which becomes the image, using a translation given by this column vector here, which is 3, 2. Now, in the multiple choice exam, you may see a question that looks like they will give you the coordinate of one point. So let's say the coordinate of A is What's A? A is 1, 3. Right? And they come and they tell you that the translation is given by 3, 2. Determine A prime. In order to do that, we write A as a column vector, which is 1, 3, and we add it to the translation, which is 3, 2, and we get 4, 5. Right? So the coordinates of A prime is given by 4, 5, and we can check that here. What is the coordinates of A prime? If we come down here, we get 4, 5. Right? So you can read it off directly from the graph, or you can calculate it. So this is typically what you might see in a multiple choice exam. In an essay type or the paper 2, you might see, might give you a diagram and it asks to describe the transformation. Right? So you must provide the column vector in this case. And if they ask you to compare the object and the image, you need to say that they are congruent. Right? Let's look at another example. So we have triangle ABC again, right? And it is undergoing a transformation here. So we have our object and our image. Now let's see what's happening to A and A prime. C and C prime, and B prime, right? So this is the direction in which we are moving if it's a translation. Right? In the case of A, we are moving 1, 2 to the left. So therefore, if the translation is represented by T, it will be -2 because we are moving to the left, and we're moving 1, 2, 3 upwards. So it's -2, 3. Okay. Now we can check it with C. Let's say we check it with C as well. 1, 2 to the left, and we go 1, 2, 3 up. Okay, and the same thing for B. So this diagram represents a translation which is given by T, and the translation is given by the column vector -2, 3. So let me show you something one time. In terms of movement, if we are moving to the right, it is positive. If we move to the left, it is negative. And that represents, that's in the X direction. Right? If we move up, it's positive. And if we move down, it's negative. Right? And that we are speaking about the Y direction. Right? In terms of the column vector, the value on top represents the X direction, and the number at the bottom represents the Y direction. Right? So if we look at C, we would have moved 1, 2 to the left. So we move, so therefore it has to be -2. That's how we got the -2 here. And then we moved 1, 2, 3 in the positive direction. So therefore it has to be 3. Okay. So let's look at another example here. So we have triangle ABC again. So this is our object, and this is our image. And typical examination question, describe the transformation. So if you notice, the object and the image are the same size, the same shape, so they are therefore congruent. And if we look at what is happening to A is coming to A prime like this, and we are moving 1, 2 to the left. So the translation will be -2 because we're moving to the left, and you're moving 1, 2, 3 downwards. Alright? So if you're moving downwards, then that is negative. So the translation is given by -2, -3. Look at what is happening to B. And C. In the case of B, we are doing 1, 2 to the left, so it's -2, and 1, 2, 3 down, so it's -3. So every point of the object undergoes the same translation. Okay, so if we are given A, coordinates of A is given by 1, 3 in this case, and we are asked to find A prime, which is the image under the translation, then we write A as 1, 3, and we're going to add it to what T is. So this is A, this is T, and we're going to -2, -3, and this will give me A prime, which would be 1 -2 is -1, and 3 -3 is 0. So therefore the coordinates of A prime is -1, 0. Is that true? This is where A prime is, and the coordinates of A prime is actually -1, 0. Right? So we can do it by calculation. This is it's going to come in your multiple choice exam, and this will be the answer if it's a paper 2 question to describe the transformation. And if we are asked about the object and the image, they are congruent. Okay? And in order to become good at these things, you need to practice, practice, practice.